Greetings, adventurers, and welcome to The Explainer. I am your guildmaster, and today we are embarking on a massive high-stakes quest. We are going to conquer one of the most notorious, stamina-draining sectors of the Cambridge AS and A-level mathematics syllabus. That's right, we are stepping straight into the Paper 2 dungeon to hunt down the core mechanic of this entire realm, the absolute law that non-real roots occur in conjugate pairs. Now, our objective today isn't just to scrape by. No, we want a full mark clear. We want every single piece of loot this map has to offer, and we are going to achieve it by mastering the exact mechanics that the official Cambridge examiners, the true dungeon masters of this game, are looking for. So, get your HUDs up, check your inventory, and let's get into it.
Okay, let's dive right into this massive 15% loot drop that awaits your total score. Take a look at your theoretical loot counter right now. According to our official quest data, mastering complex numbers, and specifically the intricate mechanics of conjugate pairs, accounts for approximately 15% of the total marks in Paper 2 of the 9709 syllabus. Now, let's put that into perspective. In the grand economy of your final grade, 15% is not just a nice bonus. It is literally the difference between an average, middle-of-the-pack run and a legendary, top-tier A-star achievement. It is what we call a high-tariff node. You simply cannot afford to leave this territory unexplored. But here is the catch. Claiming these marks isn't just about raw brute force memorization. You can't just memorize a textbook and expect to win. It's about understanding exactly how to play the game, managing your exam timer, your stamina bar, and knowing precisely what the examiners want to see on that page.
Here is our quest log for today's raid. 1. Decoding the core mechanic. 2. Tactical exam methodology. 3. Evading examiner traps. And 4. The victory strategy. Let's roll. Right, so the foundational key to unlocking this entire dungeon sector is this single, unbreakable rule. Non-real roots always occur in conjugate pairs. Think of it like this. In the realm of mathematics, when you are battling a polynomial equation that has purely real coefficients, and you suddenly strike a non-real root, let's say it's a plus bi, the laws of this universe absolutely dictate that its mirrored twin must also exist. A minus bi is waiting right there in the shadows, perfectly paired. But why? Why does the game engine work this way? Well, it's actually beautiful, because when you add or multiply these two mirrored roots together, the imaginary parts perfectly cancel out. Let's do the math real quick. You multiply a plus bi by a minus bi. You get a squared minus b squared I squared. And since we all know I squared is -1, that instantly transforms into a squared plus b squared. Boom! All real numbers. The imaginary parts vanish, leaving you with those purely real coefficients we started with. If you know one root, you instantly have the exact coordinates for the second. It is your ultimate weapon to break down those massive, intimidating cubic and quartic equations. If you forget this mechanic, I promise you, you will be wandering the dungeon in circles, burning precious stamina until the clock runs out. To truly master this map, we need to understand the assessment objective domains. Think of these as the cognitive levels the examiners are actively testing you on. The syllabus scales its expectations across 3 distinct tiers. Tier 1 is knowledge and understanding. This is your basic recall, just knowing what a conjugate pair is. But here is where players get stuck. Imagine a player in our guild. Let's call him Alex. Alex is an over-encumbered warrior. He enters the exam hall carrying way too much inventory weight. He's loaded with dictionary definitions, but he lacks agility. He just dumps all his theoretical knowledge onto the page, hoping something hits the target. But Cambridge wants you to level up to Tier 2, application. Can you actually use that conjugate pair to find the quadratic factor by expanding the brackets? And finally, the highest tier, analysis. This is evaluating evidence and proving why a certain root structure exists. This is where you encounter the command word runes. Runes like analyze, evaluate, or show that. If you misread an evaluate rune and treat it as a basic state command, you trigger an immediate trap, draining your mark potential instantly. You literally cannot bring a Tier 1 sword to a Tier 3 boss fight and expect to win. Act 2. Tactical exam methodology. Let's move on and look at the exact procedural framework needed to clear these problem notes. Okay, I want you to picture us at a collaborative tactical table right now, planning our raid. We are looking at a high-tariff, multi-part Cambridge past paper question, the dungeon boss prompt. How do we beat it? Step 1, deconstruct the question and its command word runes. Step 2, extract relevant data. Step 3, select your analytical framework.
Step 4, execute with clear notation. Step 5, present with correct terminology. Now, earlier we talked about Alex, our over-encumbered warrior who just wants to write out massive scrolls of definitions. He's slamming his hands on the table saying, we have to explain what purely real coefficients are. But on the other side of the table, we have Sam. Sam is a high-speed rogue. Sam's stamina meter is running low, so Sam wants to dash right through steps 4 and 5, skip the notation, and just write down the final answer. Just write the root down and move on, Sam argues. Well, as the guildmaster, I have to step in and tell them both, you will both fail the quest if you bypass these mandatory puzzle requirements. You cannot overwrite, but you cannot skip steps either. You have to balance your pacing to match the exact requirements of the Cambridge mark scheme.
So the absolutely crucial point here is this official examiner alert. Listen to this quote directly from the principal examiner reports. Even if your final answer is wrong, method marks can save you. In our RPG world, a method mark is your ultimate saving throw against total quest failure. The examiners know exactly what it's like. They know you are under intense exam stamina pressure. Your clock is ticking, you might drop a minus sign, you might multiply two numbers incorrectly in the heat of battle. It happens to the best of us. And if you do that, yes, your final answer is mathematically dead. But if you have clearly shown the examiner your method, if you have explicitly written out the sum of the roots and the product of the roots using those conjugate pairs, the examiner will award you the method marks. The method mark is a divine shield. It protects your loot even when your final strike completely misses the target.
And this right here brilliantly illustrates the difference in execution. Let's look back at our high-speed rogue, Sam. Sam does chaotic mental math, makes a tiny split-second arithmetic error, and writes down the wrong final quadratic equation. Because Sam skipped showing the working, the method mark saving throw is completely denied, 0 marks. Total quest failure for that node. Now, look at the systematic execution on the other side. This player clearly annotated their conjugate pair, they showed the multiplication for the product of the roots, they laid out the entire algebraic expansion step by step. Even if they make a minor arithmetic error at the very end, they secure maximum method mark loot because their analytical framework was perfectly displayed for the examiner to see. The lesson? Never be a rogue who drops an answer without analysis. Systematically secure your loot.
Quest pause. Freeze the screen right there. We are doing a mid-quest mana recharge. Before we unlock this top-band paragraph layout to help you conquer your next Cambridge exam, I need to make sure your guild feed is perfectly optimized. Take a second right now to subscribe to Ace the Exams at the handle @AceTheExams and absolutely smash that notification bell so you never miss our weekly strategic map drops. Whether you are traversing IGCSE, O-levels, or deep in AS and A-level territory, we are your guide. Okay, stamina replenished? Let's get back to the raid.
Let's see how this all builds into the ultimate problem-solving combo. Imagine you and your co-op team hit a sudden puzzle roadblock mid-calculation. Your evidence link drops, and you're threatened with a total quest failure. How do you bridge your points flawlessly? You use this 5-step sequence. It's essentially the math version of a perfect paragraph structure. First, identify given information. State explicitly on the page, since coefficients are real, the conjugate a minus bi is also a root. Don't just assume the examiner knows you know it. Second, break it into logical steps. Find the quadratic factor first by multiplying those roots. Third, solve systematically using polynomial long division or by comparing coefficients, whichever path you prefer. Fourth, check for reasonableness. This is huge. Do the degrees of your polynomials actually match up? If you divide a quartic equation by a quadratic factor, you better be left with a quadratic. If you get a cubic, you messed up. And fifth, make justified recommendations or conclusions based on that evidence. This structured blueprint is exactly how you flawlessly execute a high-scoring run.
Act 3. Evading examiner traps. Time for the visual radar sweep. Let's uncover the deadly dungeon traps hidden in the principal examiner reports.
I want you to treat these as critical trap triggers that will drain your stamina instantly. We've pulled these directly from the top 3 mistakes reported by senior examiners. Trap number 1, forgetting proper format. The game rules are strict here. If you write your complex number in a bizarre, non-standard way, instead of the explicitly demanded x plus I y form, you step on a trap and lose marks. Trap number 2, missing presentation checks. If your letter I looks like the number 1, or if your real and imaginary parts are just blurring together without any logical separation, the examiner simply cannot award you the marks. But listen, pay incredibly close attention to trap number 3, answers lacking specific context. This is the ultimate trap. This is where most top-tier runs completely fail. This happens when players give generic, textbook theoretical statements about conjugate pairs, but they completely fail to apply them to the specific roots given in that exact question. Poor logic here causes your mark yield to plummet instantly.
Let's do a live diagnostic check right now. Let's spot the defective item. Compare this flawed medium-tier rogue response against a perfectly optimized top-band execution.
Look closely at the defective attempt. The player dropped the brackets when multiplying the roots. That led to a catastrophic sign error down the line. But even worse, they provided absolutely zero context as to why they assumed this second root even existed. They completely missed the critical analytical statement that the coefficients are real. Now, let's use our digital pointer and look at the optimized response. Notice the comparative connectives and the crystal clear annotations. The player wrote, since the polynomial has real coefficients, the non-real roots occur in conjugate pairs. Therefore, if 2 plus 3i is a root, 2 minus 3i must also be a root. Look at that. It is a perfectly balanced, mathematically sound, high-scoring block of text. Beautiful.
Act 4, the victory screen. We have reached the final expedition stage. Let's view our loot drop breakdown and confirm a successful full-mark quest compile.
Let's distill this entire master simulation down into 3 universal rules. What truly separates a baseline player from a top-scoring candidate? The examiner reports are crystal clear. Top-tier players achieve evaluative thinking through 3 rules. First, the pre-quest question scan. They question assumptions. They don't just blindly apply formulas. They scan the prompt to check if the conditions, like real coefficients, are actually met first. Second, the stamina pacing matrix. They consider different perspectives and manage their time. For instance, they realize that comparing coefficients might be a faster tactical path than polynomial long division for a specific problem, saving them precious minutes. And third, the post-quest review checklist. Above all, they justify their decisions with evidence. They use clear mathematical terminology to explain their steps. They don't just show the what, they explicitly explain the why. When you justify every single tactical decision with hard evidence, you lock in the maximum loot drop.
As your guildmaster, I am incredibly proud of the raid we completed today. But the map is vast, and there are so many more dungeons to clear across the Cambridge syllabus. Whether you are traversing physics, chemistry, or pushing further into higher-level mathematics territory, remember that mastering these core mechanics is the only way to guarantee your loot. So, here is your final, high-impact command. Subscribe to Ace the Exams, click the notification bell for our weekly Level Up masterclasses, and drop a comment down below right now, sharing exactly which Cambridge subject and level, IGCSE, O, AS, or A level you are preparing to conquer next. Let us know where the guild is heading.
And finally, I want to leave you with a provocative thought to keep you analyzing your own stamina pacing matrix long after this explainer concludes. Think about this. If method marks are truly your absolute, ultimate saving throw, what is your personal strategy for showing your work systematically when that exam timer is relentlessly counting down? Seriously, when the pressure is on, who will you be? Will you be the over-encumbered warrior, wasting precious minutes writing out useless dictionary definitions? Will you be the careless rogue, skipping vital steps and missing out on guaranteed loot? Or will you be the elite strategist, perfectly balancing your speed with clear, systematic execution? The choice is entirely yours, adventurer. Plan your strategy, execute your framework, and go ace those exams. I'll see you in the next raid.